Once again, I'll repeat. What is this? Non-government employee. For the non-government employee, what is required? First, you have to decide whether the accommodation is provided by the employer with his own source or with the help of rental source. Okay. And if the accommodation is provided by the employer with his own source and accommodation is owned by the employer, then we classify it into furnished and unfurnished. Furnished means there are furnitures in the building. Unfurnished means there is no furniture in the building. Okay. Simply you remember 3 points. First point is, if the population is more than 25 lakh, 15% of salary is to be taken. 15% of the salary is the perquisite. If the population is more than 10 lakh and less than 25 lakh, 10% of salary is the perquisite benefit. Okay. And if the population is less than 10 lakh, value of perquisite is 7.5% of the salary. Okay. Then salary, what is salary? Salary means whatever amount received by the employee from the employer in the form of cash. You have to consider all the points regarding salary. According to section 17 subsection 1, whatever you consider as salary, okay, all the points are to be taken. If those received in the form of cash, I will not explain each and every aspect. Remember this. If employee received from the employer in the form of cash, that is the salary. Okay. It may be salary, it may be dearness allowance, it may be traveling allowance, it may be project allowance, it may be any form of allowance. Bonus, commission, etc. If it is received in the form of cash, that is considered as salary. Remember this. Salary. Okay. Any doubt about this? In this case, what is the point? The first is employee is non-government. And second is accommodation is provided by employer, that is from his own source. Then 3 points you remember. 15% of salary, 7.5% of salary, then 10% of salary. These are the 3 points. Okay. Then next is regarding furnished accommodation. I will not go for explaining all those things. Whatever you calculated as unfurnished. Okay, you calculate first as unfurnished. To that unfurnished value, you add 10% of cost of furniture. You add 10% of cost of furniture, and whatever answer comes, that answer is called as value of furnished house. Perquisite value of furnished accommodation. Okay. You calculate first as unfurnished. Okay. You may take 15% of salary, or you may take 10% of salary, or you may take 7.5% of salary first. Okay. That is unfurnished. To that value, add 10% of the cost of furniture. Whatever answer comes, that answer is called as value of furnished accommodation. You calculate as per above, add 10% of original cost of furniture. Remember this point, original cost. Okay, not on the diminishing balance method of the asset, you have to charge at the original cost of asset. Then whatever total comes, this total is called as value of perquisite. Then come to the second point, where the accommodation is not owned by the employer. Accommodation is not owned by the employer. Means employer is not having the building. Employer is not having the building, and employer first takes the building on rental base or lease base from the outsider. Employer takes the building on rental base or lease base from the outsider, and same is provided to employee for residential purpose. Same is provided to employee for residential purpose. Remember this. And how to calculate value of perquisite? In this case also there are two. One is unfurnished, another is furnished. Okay. Then first is unfurnished. How to calculate unfurnished? In the case of unfurnished, you take the lease rent given by the employer to the owner of the building. Whatever rent paid by owner means employer, your owner, employee owner. That means whatever rent paid by the employer to the owner of the building, that is called as lease or rent paid by the employer on behalf of employee. Building is given to employee for accommodation purpose. It may be free or concessional rate. Lease rent paid by the employer you take, then you calculate the 15% of salary. Okay. Rent paid by the employer to the owner of the building or 15% of salary, whichever is less, is the value of perquisite. Okay, you have to make two calculations. One is total rent paid by the employer. Total rent paid by the employer to the owner of building. Okay, to the owner of the building. Then secondly, you calculate 15% of salary. Salary means whatever amount received by the employee in the form of cash, not in the form of kind. Okay, you have to take all the amounts from the top to bottom. In the salary head, whatever items comes, you take the total. Then total is called as, whichever is less is the value of perquisite. Okay. Then next point is in case of furnished accommodation. Furnished accommodation. The value of perquisite regarding furnished means the building is rental building. Building is a rental building taken by the employer and same building is given to employee. Then in the building, furniture is there. Then how to calculate it? First, you consider that as a unfurnished. You consider as unfurnished and calculate this value. Thereafter, you add 10% of the original cost of furniture. Whatever answer comes, that is the value of perquisite. Okay. This is the point regarding furnished and unfurnished accommodation. Clear? Any doubt about this? Regarding rent-free accommodation. Regarding rent-free accommodation, you classify the employee into two categories. One is government employee, another is non-government employee. And come to the government employee. In the government employee, furnished accommodation, unfurnished accommodation. Okay. Unfurnished accommodation, take as per the government's rent rate. Take as per the government rent rate. For the furnished, you take the rent as per the government rate and add 10% of the original cost of furniture. This is the regarding government employee. Then for non-government employee, first you have to know whether the accommodation is provided by the employee from his own source or outside source. Okay, rental base. If it is owned by the employer, then 15% of salary or 10% of salary or 7.5% of the salary. Okay. If it is owned by the, it is taken on rental base, rent paid or 15% of salary, whichever is less. Okay. Then come to the furnished. If furnished accommodation is there, you remember only one point, add 10% of the cost of original cost of furniture. This is enough. Clear? Then next point comes accommodation provided at concessional rent. Accommodation provided by the employer to the employee at concessional rent means accommodation is provided by the employer to employee, but it is not fully free. Employer charges certain reasonable amount of rent, as compared to outside, that rate of rent is low. Okay, then we say that concessional rent. Concessional rent. How to calculate this? I'll not go for explaining this point. I will only tell you one clue. You calculate whatever explained already. Okay, you calculate the accommodation as rent free. You calculate accommodation as rent free. That means you classify the worker into government and non-government. Then for government, classify into furnished, unfurnished. Then come to the non-government. In the non-government, first is rental or owned. Then in the rental and owned, furnished, unfurnished, clear? You value it. After valuing this, you deduct the rent charged by the employer on employee, or rent reimbursed or collected from the employee by the employer. You deduct that point. Whatever answer comes, that answer is called as concessional rent accommodation. Accommodation provided at concessional rent. This is the point you remember. I'll not go for explaining all these things once again. Any doubt? You calculate, then what to deduct? Rent collected by the employer from the employee. Okay. Annual rent or for the period of accommodation. Then come to specified assessee. This rent-free accommodation is for all the assessees, and some perquisites are allowable or some perquisites are taxable to all the assessees, and some perquisites are taxable to only specified assessee. Some perquisites are taxable to only specified assessee. Therefore, you have to know the meaning of specified assessee. Who is a specified assessee? Okay. So the specified assessee is one. He is an employee who is a director. He is an employee and also a director of the company. An employee who is a director. Second is an employee being a person who has substantial interest in the company. That is a person who is the beneficial owner of equity shares carrying not less than 20% of voting right. First, I say that employee is a director of that company. And second point, I say that the employee is having the substantial interest in the company. Substantial interest in the company means he must have not less than 20% of voting power. He must have not less than 20% of voting power. That assessee or that employee is called as specified assessee. Specified assessee. And third is an employee whose salary exceeds 50,000 per annum. If the salary exceeds 50,000 per annum, then that employee is called as specified assessee. These 3 points you remember. Out of the first 3 points, 2 points will not come for your examination purpose. The third point you remember. Okay, the problems are based on third point. Okay, for the specified assessee, there are specific perquisites, taxable perquisites. Okay, therefore you have to remember this. If the employee salary exceeds 50,000, some perquisites are taxable. Otherwise, no. Remember this. For example, car provided by the employer to employee. Car is provided by the employer to employee for the office as well as for a private purpose. It is one perquisite. It is a benefit given by the employer to employee. Car is provided by the company or employer. Okay. This perquisite is taxable only in the hands of specified assessee. Remember this. Okay. This type of some examples are there. I will list out in the next class and tell you. Okay. So who is a specified assessee? This question may come for 2 marks. Remember this. Who is a specified assessee? Simply you write 3 points. Who is a director of the company? Okay. Second point is who is having substantial interest in the company? Second point, you don't write lengthy point. You simply remember. Second point is a person who is having substantial interest in the company. And third is an employee whose salary exceeds 50,000. You write 3 points for 2 marks. 2 marks question. Who is a specified? Who is a specified assessee? Okay. Remember this. Then meaning for this salary for specified assessee. In the specified assessee, salary is salary plus DA plus bonus plus commission and all the taxable allowances and allowances plus perquisite in cash. Okay. That means total salary you have to consider. From last 4 years, I am not in touch. I'm not in touch with this income tax. This year I am explaining these points. I'll clear it tomorrow. What is salary? Meaning of salary for a specified as 50,000 is the limit. Okay, that 50,000 is the gross salary or net salary. I will tell tomorrow. ಈ 4 ವರ್ಷ ತಿಳಿಲ್ಲ ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಹೇಳಕತ್ತೀನಿ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ನೆನಪಿಲ್ಲ ಇದಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ಬಂದೇನಿ ಅದ್ರ ಸಲುವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ನೋಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಕತ್ತೀನಿ ಓಕೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಮ್ ಟು ದಿ motor car provided by employer to employee. Car is provided by the employer to employee. This is a benefit to the employee. This is a perquisite. It comes under the specified assessee. Okay, this is taxable in case of specified assessee. What is the problem with this? It is transparent, not clear. Connect them. Okay, now see the motor car perquisite. Okay, car is provided by the employer to employee. Employer provided the car to employee. Then the first is if car is used only for office duty. Car is used only for office duty, not for private purpose. Employer provided the car and that car is to be used only for office purpose only. Okay. Then is there any benefit to that employee? Car is given by the employer to the employee, but condition is that car is used to be used only for office duty. While coming to the office, you start the car, then and you use that car for office purpose, not for personal purpose. Then there is no benefit to the employee because that car is given for office purpose. Okay, therefore there is no benefit to the employee and purchase value of that car given by employer to employee for office duty is nil. Its value is 0. Remember this. There is no benefit to the employee if the car is given by the employer to the employee only for office duty. This is the first point. And second point is if the car used only for private purpose of the employee. Opposite of the first point. The car is given by the employer to the employee in the first case, used for only office purpose. Okay. Then in the second case, the car is given by the employer and that car is to be used only for office purpose, not for, only for private purpose, not for office purpose. For office purpose, there may be another car. Okay. If the car is given by the employer to the employee only for the private purpose, then you value as per the given instruction. That means all the expenses paid by the employer regarding the car. The value of that car is, you take the all expenses paid by the employer pertaining to that car. Expense means that may be the wage charges, that may be the other expenses, and all the expenses paid by the employer you must take. Then next is 10% of depreciation on the car. First, you take the expenses incurred by the employer on that car. And second, you take 10% of depreciation on the car. And third is driver salary. If driver is also provided by the employer. Only car is provided, driver is not provided, they will take the first 2 points. Point number 1 is all expenses paid by the employer plus 10% depreciation. Okay, 10% depreciation. Only car is provided. And the driver is also provided by the employer. Then you take the driver salary. Okay. Total of these 3 is called as value of car. Total of the 3 is called as value of car. And less the amount paid by the employee. If any expense is met by the employee and not paid by the employer, you deduct it. Okay. The value of car is all the expenses paid by employer. For repair purpose, for making the good, the vehicle, and 10% of depreciation, driver salary, it may come, it may not come. Driver is provided, you take this point, otherwise give this point. Okay. Total is the value of car. And deduct from the total amount if any amount is reimbursed from the employee. Okay. That is the value of car if car is used for only private purpose. Clear? Then next is third point. If car is used partly for office and partly for private purpose. In the first case, remember that first case, car is used for only office duty. In the second case, car is used only for private duty purpose. Private purpose only. In the third case, mixture is there. Office as well as private purpose. The car is provided by the employer to the employee. Office as well as private purpose. Office as well as private purpose. In this case, the car is classified into 2 categories. Car is classified into 2. One is big car, another is small car. Whether the car is a big car or small car. On the basis of the car capacity, the perquisite is to be calculated. Okay. If the engine cubic capacity is 1.6 liters or less than that, cubic capacity of engine is 1.6 liter or less, means a small car. Okay. A small car. You consider that as small car. In this case of small car, its cubic capacity is 1.6 liter. Okay. Less than 1.6 liter or 1.6 liter cubic capacity, that car is called a small car. Then how to value it? Its value is 1800 per month. Okay, 1800 per month. In a year, there are 12 months. You multiply by 12. If the car is provided by employer to employee for full year. If the car is provided in the middle of the year, count the number of months car used by the employee. Okay, on the basis of period of the use, you multiply by 1,800. Multiply by 1,800. 1,800 rupees per month. is the charges for the car value. Okay. Then if driver is provided to take 900 rupees per month as driver salary, if this is the case, if expenses are paid by employer, remember this, it is also very confusing. In this case, you have to classify this into first point is car is used for office as well as private. Clear? The next is the car is a small car. That means 1.6 liter cubic capacity or less. And third point is expenses are paid by employer. All the expenses are paid by employer. Then only these rates applicable. What is the rate? 1,800 per month. 1,800 per month. Car maintenance value. Then driver salary 900 per month. Okay. Make the total, and total value is called as value of car. Okay. If the car engine cubic capacity is more than 1.6 liter, cubic capacity of car is more than 1.6 liter, then instead of 1800, you take 2400 per month. This is the only change. For big car, 2400, small car, 1800 per month, maintenance charge value. Clear? 1800 is the, you have to remember that cubic capacity. 1.6 liter cubic capacity or less, that is called small car, 1800 per month, and more than 1.6 liter cubic capacity, big car, 2400 per month. On the basis of that, you value the car. If expenses are paid by the employer. Okay. If the expenses are paid by the employee. Okay. If the expenses are paid by the employee, how to calculate? Same point. Cubic capacity is 1.6 liter or less than 1.6 liter capacity. Instead of 1800 rupees, you take 600 per month. 600 per month. Expenses are paid by the employee. Expenses are paid by the employee, and the value of car is 600 per month. Per month 600, if you multiply by number of months, you use the car in a year. Then driver salary 900 per month. You remember this point. The car is the employer car. That is provided by employer to employee. Car is small car. And if the driver is there with the car, then you have to take 900 per month. Okay. Suppose the car is the company car and driver is also employee of that company. Then you take these two cars. 600 per month and 900 per month. And if the car is a big car and expenses are made by the employee, then you take 900 per month. Remember this. Expenses means running expenses of the car. It may be related with the repair, it may be related with the petrol, diesel, etc. That is called as expenses paid by the employee. Okay, any doubt about this car? This point comes in salary problem. You remember this. This is the